Listen carefully. If your mind collapses under pressure, it doesn't matter how strong your body is, you are already defeated. Most people lose their battles before they even begin. Not because life is hard, but because their mind is soft, scattered, and easily shaken. Weakness doesn't show up in the fight, it shows up in your thoughts long before the fight starts. And if you don't train your mind like a weapon, it will turn against you like an enemy. Today, I will teach you the mental combat laws, the laws that kill fear, crush doubt, silence, weakness, and build a mind so disciplined that nothing in this world can bend it. If you're ready, step in. We begin now. 1. Move before fear has time to speak. Fear does not usually attack you with a loud scream. It begins quietly. It waits for that 1 second when you stop, when you doubt yourself, when you let your mind wander. The moment you pause, fear slips into your thoughts and whispers all the reasons why you should not move, why you might fail, why you should stay safe. And the more you think, the stronger fear becomes. That small hesitation becomes a doorway. That doorway becomes a road. And fear begins to grow legs, walk into your mind and take control. Most people lose the battle not because they are weak, but because they hesitate long enough for fear to build its strength. You think too much. You analyze until your own thoughts paralyze you. Fear loves overthinking, it feeds on it. The longer you stand still, the louder fear speaks, and the more believable its lies feel. The warrior mind works differently. It knows that fear only has power when you give it time. So you move quickly, not blindly, but decisively. You take action before fear has a chance to settle in. You step forward, even if your heart is unsure. Because motion kills hesitation, and hesitation grows fear. When you move first, fear cannot gather its army. It cannot build excuses. It cannot create doubts. It cannot trap you in the worst case, what-ifs. Action cuts through fear like a blade. Even a small step forward can silence the entire noise of anxiety. Remember this: people who wait for confidence never move. People who act before fear organizes its attack, become unstoppable. Move fast, move early. Move before fear has time to speak, and fear will never be able to stop you. 2. Use pain as a signal, not a sentence. Pain is one of the most misunderstood teachers in life. Most people react to pain as if it is a punishment, as if it is a final judgment that tells them to stop, retreat, or give up. But pain is not a sentence meant to imprison you. It is a signal meant to guide you. It is information. It is feedback. It is your body or your mind telling you, pay attention. Something needs to change. Something needs to grow. Weak minds panic the moment pain appears. They treat discomfort like danger. The second they feel pressure, they step back. The moment something becomes difficult, they label it as a sign to quit. But understand this: pain itself is not the enemy, your relationship with it is. If you see pain as an attack, you will run from it for the rest of your life. But if you see pain as a message, you will learn from it, adapt to it, and become stronger because of it. A warrior does not flinch at discomfort. He studies it. He listens to it. He asks, what is this pain trying to tell me? What weakness is it exposing? What adjustment should I make? When you see pain as information rather than suffering, your entire life changes. You begin to understand growth on a deeper level. Muscles grow by tearing. Skills grow by repetition. Wisdom grows by experience. And character grows by facing the very discomfort you want to avoid. Pain is simply a compass pointing toward the areas that need strengthening. Emotional pain shows where you need healing. Physical pain shows where you need technique. Mental pain shows where you need clarity. Every form of pain has a message inside it, but only the disciplined mind can hear it. When you stop running from pain and start learning from it, you take away its power to control you. Pain cannot break a person who uses it as a map. It cannot defeat someone who sees it as feedback instead of failure. Remember, weak minds fear pain because they cannot interpret it. Strong minds use pain because they understand it. Let pain be your signal, not your sentence, and you will grow beyond the limits you once believed were permanent. 3. Cut off the noise, or you will forget your own voice. In every person's life, there is a constant stream of noise, opinions from others, expectations from society, criticism from people who aren't even living their own truth, and the pressure to fit into a world that doesn't even know what it wants. This noise surrounds you every day, and if you are not conscious, it slowly starts shaping your mind. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you compare your path to others. It makes you lose the ability to hear the most important voice you have, your own. Most people are not weak because they lack strength. They are weak because they are overloaded. Too many voices, too many suggestions, too many judgments, too many distractions. Their mind becomes crowded, and in that crowd, their real identity gets lost. When you allow the world to speak louder than your inner voice, you become a stranger to yourself. You start living a life that is not yours, a life built on what others think, not on what you truly believe. The warrior mind does the opposite. A warrior values silence, not because silence is peaceful, but because silence is clarity. When the world around you becomes quiet, the world inside you becomes loud. You begin hearing your intuition, your direction, your instinct, your truth. Silence is not an escape, it is a sharpening. It cuts away the unnecessary. It isolates the essential. It brings your focus back to yourself. Noise distracts you from your purpose. It fills your mind with things that don't matter. It pulls you into competition you never signed up for. It makes you chase approval, validation, and acceptance. And once you start chasing approval, you lose power. Approval makes you act like a follower. Silence makes you act like a creator. To cut the noise means to limit what you allow into your mind. Not every comment deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves space in your thoughts. Not every person deserves access to your mental world. You must protect your mind like a fortress, because every fortress that leaves its doors open will eventually be conquered. When you reduce the noise, you regain your direction. When you stop listening to every voice around you, you finally hear the one voice that matters, the one telling you who you are, what you want, and where you are meant to go. That voice is your greatest guide, but it can only be heard in stillness. Remember, people who live in noise lose themselves. People who master silence find themselves. Cut off the noise, or the world will shape you into someone you never wanted to be. Protect your inner voice, because that voice is your ultimate weapon in life. 4. Don't fight anger with anger, fight it with precision. Anger is one of the most dangerous forces inside the human mind. It arrives fast, hits hard, and blinds you before you even understand what is happening. Most people think anger makes them strong. They think reacting instantly, raising their voice, or lashing out proves power. But anger is not strength. Anger is uncontrolled energy, and anything uncontrolled can destroy you before it destroys what you're aiming at. When two angers collide, nobody wins. The situation escalates, decisions become reckless, and you lose clarity. Anger turns your mind into a battlefield where logic dies and ego takes over. And once ego is in charge, you make choices that damage your relationships, your opportunities, your future, and even your own sense of peace. Fighting anger with more anger is like pouring gasoline on a fire and expecting it to go out. A warrior understands this. A warrior knows that anger is not to be suppressed or ignored, but to be understood and redirected. Anger is raw energy, powerful but wild. If you let it control you, it becomes destructive. But if you control it, it becomes a weapon of precision. The key is not to remove anger from your life. The key is to master it. When anger appears, don't react immediately. Do not swing blindly. Do not let the heat of the moment govern the next minutes of your life. Instead, detach. Step back mentally. Observe the emotion without becoming the emotion. Anger clouds judgment, but distance restores clarity. When you pull yourself out of the intensity, even for a few seconds, your vision becomes sharp again. You see the situation as it truly is, not through the fog of emotion, but through the lens of understanding. Precision means responding with intention, not impulse. It means choosing actions that solve the problem, not actions that satisfy ego. It means hitting the right target at the right moment with the right amount of force, rather than exploding in all directions. Precision turns anger from a chaotic explosion into a controlled strike. Weak minds let their anger drive them. Strong minds use their anger like a tool, deliberate, calculated, and purposeful. When you master your anger, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, no situation, no insult, no opposition can pull you out of your center. Remember, anger is natural, but reacting blindly is optional. Anger is energy, but directing it is skill. Power is not shown through rage, it is shown through control. Fight anger not with more anger, but with precision. That is the difference between an emotional fighter and a true warrior of the mind. 5. Your discipline must be stronger than your mood. One of the greatest weaknesses in the modern mind is this: people only act when they feel like it. They wait for motivation, they wait for the perfect moment, they wait for energy, they wait for inspiration. But the truth is simple: if your actions depend on your mood, your life will always be unstable. Your mood changes every day, every hour, sometimes every minute. You cannot build a strong life on something that shifts like the wind. You cannot build mastery on emotional weather. Discipline is the opposite of mood. Discipline is stable. It is consistent. It does not care whether you are tired, sad, stressed, or unmotivated. Discipline acts regardless of the internal storms. This is why disciplined people succeed even with less talent, less experience, or fewer opportunities, because they show up when others quit. They move forward when others collapse. They continue when others look for excuses. Most people lose because they let their emotions negotiate their actions. If they feel lazy, they skip the work. If they feel upset, they avoid the challenge. If they feel stressed, they postpone their responsibilities. But life does not reward mood. Life rewards consistency. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you train your mind to become weaker. Every time you let your emotions win, you teach your brain that moods are the master and you are the servant. A warrior knows better. A warrior trains even on the days he feels empty. He practices when nobody is watching. He shows up for his goals even when his body doesn't want to move and his mind doesn't want to focus. This is not because he enjoys difficulty, it is because he understands the truth. Discipline is freedom. When your discipline becomes stronger than your mood, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Discipline builds habits, and habits build identity. The more you act with discipline, the more your mind transforms. You begin to trust yourself because you follow through. You begin to respect yourself because you do what needs to be done. You begin to rely on yourself because you stop abandoning your commitments. Mood gives temporary pleasure. Discipline gives long-term power. When you depend on motivation, your progress will always be inconsistent. Motivation is emotional. It is high today, low tomorrow, gone next week. But discipline is a decision. It is a promise you make to yourself and keep no matter what. It is the willingness to do the hard things even when everything inside you wants comfort. That is where greatness starts, in the moments when you refuse to let your mood dictate your future. A disciplined mind does not wait. It does not negotiate. It does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" It says, "This must be done, so I will do it." The world is full of talented people who failed because they followed their moods. But history remembers the disciplined, the ones who stayed consistent long after everyone else got tired, the ones who built themselves brick by brick, day after day, with quiet determination and zero excuses. Remember this: your emotions are temporary, your results are permanent, your mood is fragile, your discipline is your armor. If you want a mind that cannot be broken, discipline must lead and emotion must follow. When you build your life on discipline, you take control. And when you take control, weakness loses its power over you forever. 6. Detach from the situation, then decide. One of the greatest causes of human weakness is the inability to separate emotion from decision. When something happens, most people respond instantly, not with logic, not with clarity, but with the raw emotion of the moment. Anger flares, fear rises, ego tightens, insecurity speaks, and before they even understand what is happening, they have already reacted. And once you react emotionally, the situation controls you, instead of you controlling the situation. A mind controlled by emotion cannot see the truth. It cannot judge correctly. It cannot calculate, analyze, or understand the bigger picture. Emotion narrows your vision. Like looking through a tiny keyhole, you see only a fraction of reality and make choices based on that limited view. This is why people regret things they said in the heat of the moment. They were not speaking from wisdom, they were speaking from a temporary storm inside them. A warrior does not allow this. A warrior knows that emotional decisions are weak decisions, and weak decisions create heavy consequences. So the first thing a warrior does is detach, mentally step out of the situation. Not run away, not ignore it, but create distance inside the mind. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. It is the ability to observe without being consumed, to think without drowning in feeling, to see the entire battlefield instead of staring at one tiny corner. When you detach, the situation slows down, the noise becomes quiet, the emotional fog clears. You begin to see what is actually happening, not what your emotion is exaggerating. You notice details you would normally miss. You understand other people's intentions more clearly. You see your own ego trying to interfere. You recognize the difference between what matters and what is simply provoking you. Detach first, then decide. Decisions made in anger will ruin your relationships. Decisions made in fear will limit your growth. Decisions made in ego will destroy your reputation. Decisions made in insecurity will trap you in a life smaller than you deserve. But decisions made from clarity, from observation, from stillness, from awareness, these are decisions that build strength, confidence, peace, and power. Detachment is not running away from emotion. It is mastering emotion by refusing to obey it blindly. When you step back mentally, you regain control over the situation. You choose your response instead of being dragged by impulse. You speak with intention instead of reacting with force. You move with precision instead of exploding without aim. This is why I say, a calm mind sees more than a chaotic mind ever will. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is an advantage. It is intelligence. It is strength. It is the ability to stand in the storm without letting the storm enter you. People who cannot detach become slaves to their emotions. Their emotions decide their words, their actions, their reactions, their mistakes, their regrets. They live their entire life in emotional chains. But those who learn detachment control their inner world, and when you control your inner world, the outer world loses its power to shake you. Detachment is your shield. Clarity is your weapon. Precision is your victory. Detach from the situation. See it for what it truly is. Then respond with the mind of a warrior, not the panic of a wounded ego. This is how you win battles that emotional people don't even know how to fight. 7. Reject any thought that weakens you. The most dangerous battlefield you will ever face is the battlefield inside your own mind. Out there in the world, opponents must come close to harm you. But inside your mind, the enemy can attack you from within, quietly, repeatedly, and without mercy. And most people never realize that their greatest wounds are self-inflicted, delivered not by life, but by the thoughts they allow to live inside their head. Your mind produces hundreds of thoughts every hour. Some are empowering, some are neutral, and some are poison. The problem is not the existence of negative thoughts. The problem is that most people accept these thoughts as truth. A single doubt enters their mind, and instead of questioning it, they feed it. A fear rises, and instead of challenging it, they obey it. An insecurity appears, and instead of rejecting it, they embrace it like it is a part of their identity. Understand this clearly. Your thoughts are not commands. Your thoughts are not facts. Your thoughts are not you. Weak thoughts appear because your mind is constantly processing memories, fears, past experiences, old wounds, and imagined futures. A weak thought is simply a message. It is not a verdict. But if you allow it to stay, if you allow it to grow roots inside your mind, it will slowly shape the way you think, the way you act, and eventually the way you live. A single toxic thought can create a lifestyle built on fear. A warrior's mind works differently. A warrior examines thoughts the way a guard examines visitors entering a fortress. If the thought strengthens you, you let it in. If the thought weakens you, you throw it out instantly. No negotiation, no discussion, no emotional attachment, just immediate rejection. This is mental discipline at its highest level, the ability to remove any thought that tries to shrink your spirit. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let weeds grow, they will choke the flowers. Negative thoughts are those weeds. You do not argue with weeds. You do not try to fix them. You pull them out before they spread. Most people try to fix negative thoughts, but that gives the thought more attention, more energy, more importance. The key is not fixing, the key is rejecting. When you refuse to feed a weak thought, it starves. When you refuse to believe it, it dies. When you refuse to identify with it, it loses power. The strongest people are not those who never have negative thoughts. The strongest people are those who never allow negative thoughts to become their truth. They catch the weakness early. They cut it off before it grows. They refuse to let a single doubtful whisper become a lifelong limitation. If a thought makes you feel smaller, weaker, insecure, ashamed, fearful, or doubtful, remove it, replace it, challenge it, speak against it. Do whatever you must do, but do not let it sit inside your mind, because what sits in your mind eventually sits in your life. A warrior does not entertain thoughts that insult his potential. He does not allow weakness to dictate his vision. He does not permit fear to control his direction. He knows that every thought is either building his strength or destroying it, and he chooses strength every time. Remember, your mind is a gate. You are the gatekeeper. Reject any thought that tries to walk in without your permission, especially the ones that weaken you. The quality of your life is the quality of the thoughts you allow to survive inside you. Protect your mind with the same intensity you would protect your life, because in many ways they are the same thing. 8. Adapt like water, but hit like iron. Most people misunderstand flexibility. They think being flexible means being passive, being soft, letting life push them around without resistance. But that is not the meaning of flexibility in the mind of a warrior. Flexibility does not mean surrender. Flexibility means intelligence. It means understanding that life will not always move in the direction you expect, and if your mind is rigid, you will break under pressure. But at the same time, if your mind is too soft, you will collapse without putting up any real fight. True strength is the balance between flow and force, between being adaptable like water and unshakable like iron. Consider water. Water adjusts to the shape of whatever holds it. It flows around obstacles, finds openings, and moves forward even in the smallest cracks. Water does not resist reality, it adapts to it. This is why water is powerful. It does not waste energy fighting situations it cannot change. It shifts, it bends, it finds a way. A rigid mind, however, tries to force life to match its expectations. It resists change, clings to old habits, and demands that the world behave the way it wants. Such a mind becomes fragile because life does not bend for anyone. A rigid mind cracks the moment life changes direction. But water alone is not enough. A person who only flows, who adapts without ever standing firm, becomes weak. They avoid confrontation, avoid responsibility, avoid challenge. They drift without purpose, always adjusting but never striking. This is why the second half of the law is just as important. Hit like iron. Iron is solid. It is decisive. When it strikes, it leaves an impact that cannot be ignored. When iron commits, it commits fully. When iron hits, it hits with intention. A warrior needs both qualities. When life throws an unexpected obstacle, you must be water flexible, calm, adaptable. You adjust your plan, change your strategy, shift your approach. But once you know your direction, once you choose your moment, once you understand the target, you strike with the force and certainty of iron. No hesitation, no trembling, no second guessing, just pure, focused execution. Weak minds fail because they live at the extremes. Some are too rigid, they refuse to change, refuse to learn, refuse to evolve. They keep repeating the same mistakes because they only know one way to live, and when that way fails, they collapse. Others are too soft, they adapt endlessly but never take action. They bend so much they never stand for anything. They become water without iron, flow without impact, movement without results. True mastery lies in the balance. When your mind can shift like water, you never get stuck. You never cling to old identities, old stories, old insecurities. You remain open, alert, able to adjust to any situation. But when your mind can strike like iron, you become decisive, confident, and powerful. Your actions carry weight. Your choices create results. Your presence makes an impact. To adapt like water means you evolve faster than your challenges. To hit like iron means you execute with precision once the moment arrives. Imagine living with both. Imagine a mind that cannot be broken because it flows around every obstacle, yet cannot be ignored because it strikes with overwhelming force when necessary. That is the mind of a warrior. That is the mind of someone unstoppable. The world respects two things: flexibility and strength. When you combine them, people cannot predict you, cannot control you, cannot weaken you. You become like a river that carves mountains, soft in motion but powerful in impact. Remember, you lose when you are rigid. You fail when you are too soft. But when you master both flow and force, no challenge can defeat you. Adapt like water, so nothing stops your movement. Hit like iron, so every movement counts. This is the mental equilibrium of a true warrior. 9. Win in silence, reveal in power. One of the biggest mistakes people make is announcing their goals, their plans, their dreams, their improvements, their next moves, and their entire journey to the world before they've even taken the first real step. They talk loudly about what they will do, as if speaking about success is the same as achieving it. They chase validation before they chase mastery. They want applause before they've earned the discipline. And without realizing it, they weaken themselves with every word they speak. Every time you reveal your plans too soon, you invite resistance, jealousy, opinions, expectations, and energy that can interfere with your progress. People who do not understand your vision will criticize it. People who envy your ambition will poison it. People who fear your growth will try to slow it. Most people will talk you out of your dreams long before life ever tests you. And if you seek approval too early, you lose your edge, you lose your drive, because validation becomes your reward instead of achievement. A warrior knows this. That is why a warrior trains in silence. He does not broadcast his failures. He does not announce his struggles. He does not explain his sacrifices. He does not search for applause. He does not need permission. He builds his strength quietly. He sharpens his mind privately. He works while others talk. He grows while others compare. He improves while others complain. Silence is a weapon. Silence protects your energy. Silence keeps your intentions clean. Silence prevents others from interfering with your direction. When you move in silence, nobody knows what stage you are in, whether you are starting, struggling, winning, or evolving. And because they don't know, they cannot interrupt your momentum. They cannot measure you, cannot limit you, cannot judge you prematurely. There is a psychological advantage to silence. When nobody knows your weaknesses, they cannot target them. When nobody knows your strategy, they cannot counter it. When nobody knows your next move, they cannot block it. Silence gives you unpredictability, and unpredictability gives you power because people fear what they cannot read. But silence does not mean hiding forever. It means working until the results become so strong that you no longer need words. It means letting your progress speak louder than any explanation. When you finally reveal yourself, when you show the new strength you built, the new skills you developed, the new mind you forged, it hits harder because nobody expected it. Your silence becomes your surprise. Your results become your voice. Weak people want attention. Strong people want mastery. Weak people want praise. Strong people want progress. Weak people talk. Strong people act. Talking drains energy that should be used for action. Talking builds pressure that destroys focus. Talking exposes your goals to people who do not want to see you win. Winners understand the power of mystery. They understand that growth requires privacy. They understand that silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. The most dangerous fighters do not scream, they do not brag, they do not broadcast. They move silently and strike with precision. By the time you realize what they built, it is already too late to stop them. This is what it means to win in silence. You prepare quietly. You evolve privately. You grind without noise. And one day, when you step into the world with the results of your silent work, you reveal a version of yourself that nobody saw coming. That shock, that impact, that undeniable presence, that is your power. Remember, your silence protects your journey. Your results announce your victory. Your discipline writes your story. And your success makes the noise that words never could. Win in silence. Let your power do the talking. 10. Master your internal environment. The world outside cannot break you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control everything outside of themselves. The people around them, the situations they fear, the opinions of strangers, the outcomes of events, the reactions of others. They waste enormous energy trying to bend the world to match their expectations. And every time the world refuses to cooperate, they break. They get disappointed, frustrated, angry, defeated, and mentally exhausted. This is because they have built their peace on something they cannot control, the outside world. And anything built on unstable ground eventually collapses. A warrior understands that true strength does not come from controlling the world, it comes from controlling the self. You cannot stop life from throwing challenges at you. You cannot prevent people from misunderstanding you, judging you, criticizing you, or leaving you. You cannot avoid losses, setbacks, failures, betrayals, or unexpected changes, but you can control the way you respond. And the way you respond determines the direction of your life, your internal environment, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your reactions, your discipline, your mental habits. This is the territory you must master. Because if your internal environment is chaotic, even a small inconvenience can destroy your day. But if your internal environment is strong, centered, and disciplined, even the biggest challenges cannot shake you. Think of the mind as a house. If the foundation is weak, every storm will cause damage. If the walls are fragile, the wind will tear them down. If the structure is unstable, you will never feel safe inside it. But if the house is built solidly with stable ground, strong materials, and precise architecture, then no matter what happens outside, you remain protected within. Most people live with a mind full of cracks created by self-doubt, insecurity, fear, emotional reactivity, overthinking, and lack of discipline. These cracks let everything in, every criticism, every disappointment, every unexpected event, every rude comment, every negative experience slips into their mind and destabilizes them. They react instantly to everything because their internal environment has no walls. A warrior builds walls not to shut out life, but to keep the inner world intact. These walls are made of clarity, discipline, emotional awareness, stillness, resilience, and self-respect. When these qualities are strong, the outside world loses its power. Someone may insult you, but you do not collapse. A plan may fail, but you do not crumble. A person may betray you, but you do not lose yourself. A challenge may rise, but you do not panic, because your strength no longer comes from comfort, approval, or predictable circumstances. Your strength comes from within. To master your internal environment means to know your triggers, your patterns, your weaknesses, and your emotional reactions. It means to stop blaming the world for your feelings. It means to stop expecting life to be smooth, easy, and predictable. Instead, you train your mind to remain firm, calm, and sharp no matter what happens. When the inside is strong, the outside loses its power. If your internal environment is peaceful, nothing external can steal your peace. If your internal environment is disciplined, nothing external can distract you. If your internal environment is resilient, nothing external can break you. This is why I say, a mind that is self-controlled is a fortress. It is unshakable. It is untouchable. It is undefeatable. A person who has mastered their internal environment becomes immune to the chaos of life. People who lack internal mastery keep demanding for life to become easier. People who possess internal mastery become stronger than whatever life throws at them. Control the self, and the world loses the ability to control you. Fortify your inner world, and nothing external will ever be strong enough to break you. This is the ultimate law of mental combat. Master your internal environment, and no force on earth will ever be able to defeat you. If you have truly understood these laws, you will notice something important. Every law points back to one truth. The battle is not outside of you. The battle is within you. Weakness does not appear in your life because people are too difficult, or circumstances are too harsh, or the world is too unfair. Weakness appears when the mind is untrained, undisciplined, unfocused, and unprotected. And the moment you begin strengthening the mind, everything in your life begins to change. A warrior is not created through comfort, praise, or motivation. A warrior is created through challenge, self-control, silence, reflection, and relentless commitment to personal growth. The strongest version of yourself does not emerge when life becomes easier. It emerges when your mind becomes sharper. When you stop being a slave to your thoughts, your moods, your fears, and your emotions, you finally take the throne inside your own mind. These mental combat laws are not just ideas, they are daily practices. They require repetition, they require consistency, they require honesty. You cannot apply them once and expect transformation. You must live them, you must breathe them, you must ingrain them into your habits, until they become part of who you are. The day these laws stop being techniques and start becoming your natural way of thinking, that is the day weakness dies permanently. Some people will continue living in emotional chaos. Some will continue repeating the same mistakes. Some will keep waiting for courage instead of building it. But not you. If you follow these laws, you will develop a mind that does not break under pressure, does not fold under fear, and does not collapse under life's unpredictability. You will become the kind of person whose strength comes from within, unborrowed, unshaken, and undeniable. Remember this forever. Life does not demand perfection from you. Life demands mastery of the self, and once you master the self, everything else becomes simple. Walk with discipline, think with clarity, move with intention. Train your mind like a warrior, and you will live a life that weakness can never touch.